Hi, folks. It's Paul. I'm back again. Today is Wednesday, August 7th, and I'm going to start out by giving you a little bit of an update on some progress that I'm making. I had said in my last video that I'm not going to report my weight progress specifically until I reach benchmarks, getting down to 290, 280, 270, 10-pound increments. But I wanted to assure you that I am losing weight. I'm very thrilled about it. Um, and I'm following the Lion diet, as I mentioned. So it's now been, I think, over a week and a half now where I've had nothing to eat other than ground beef and water. Um, it's pretty interesting. I will have to say that uh, my appetite is subsiding. I think when I really got into keto prior to the Lion diet, especially during some of the fasts that seemed like they didn't work, I would say that not only did my addictive impulses subside, but I also noticed that my appetite subsided. So, for whatever that's worth, I'm not going to try to make a scientific explanation out of it. I just wanted to share it with you. The easiest thing for me to talk about is what I promised I would do each week. I'm going to give you my Boz ratio, Dr. Boz ratio readings over the last week. And again, a refresher is this is my blood glucose number divided by my blood ketone number. And then I'm looking for a ratio below 80. And Dr. Boz says that if you're below 80 but above 40, you're in the weight burning zone. And when you get between 40 and 20, you have the potential to add autophagy, which is where your body recycles broken materials and turns it into energy and new cells, which is a great thing. It just means that your body's running more efficiently. It boosts your immune system. Um, and I've even seen videos at different times where autophagy will actually break down the tissue in saggy skin as you lose weight. We all have seen people or experienced ourselves where someone loses a lot of weight, and then all of a sudden they've got flabby skin all over the place. I've seen documentation of it that just shows that if you're in autophagy enough, it will eat up that extra skin. It's amazing. Um, if you want to take a look at a guy who I know it happened to, Thomas DeLauer, that's DeLauer. He has a YouTube channel. If you look at that guy, you'd swear to God that he was never fat a day in his life. But he was almost 100 pounds overweight at one time. If you look at his channel and you go back in time, you'll see that he had the same problem that a lot of us have. And he just had a moment of truth and everything changed for him. And now he's a trainer and a nutrition counselor. He's not a doctor. He doesn't claim to be a doctor, but that guy looks cut. He's not huge like a bodybuilder, but he looks like a bodybuilder. He's got the washboard abs, and everywhere you look on him, there's muscles. So anyway, if you get below 20 on your Dr. Boz ratio, you are in therapeutic ketosis. And again, that's when uh, ketosis can have a benefit of fighting serious diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's and a whole bunch of other things that we don't have as much uh, indicative knowledge of yet, but we're pretty sure that it helps with a multitude of things. My recap on the ketogenic diet for you is that it was originally developed in the mid part of last century as a therapy for children with the fits. The word is eluding me right now. Epileptic fits. And again, it's a mystery why they only let it be or had it be used for children. I don't know all that. I'm not a medical historian, but anyway, I actually hit a therapeutic level. I think it was today. I'm going to go through my cards, my magic 3x5 cards. So last Thursday, the day after the last video dropped, I was pretty close. My Boz ratio was 24. On Friday, it was 38. On Saturday, it was 29. On Sunday, it was 80. I have no idea how that happened. I'm not cheating. I promise you. If I cheat, I'll fess up. Oh, so I've been below 20, I think twice now. So on Monday, I was at 14, and I was pretty damn close. On Tuesday, I was at 22, and this morning was amazing. I was at 13.7. Um, wow, good week. So I think that the thing that I wanted to remind everyone about is that I'm using the method. I'm following what Dr. Boz and my local counselor, who's part of Dr. Boz's network, who runs the support group in the villages, is make sure you're measuring. Make sure you're measuring. I mentioned in the last video that Dr. Chafee says throw out your scale. I have to use the scale because I need to keep track of that. But I think when I get somewhere in range of what I think is my ideal weight, I am going to get rid of it, or I'm just going to stop using it. I'm just going to measure my weight based upon how I feel and how my clothing fits. I'm looking forward to that. I think today's not going to be as long of a video, um, which is a relief for me and maybe for some of the people that are still watching. I just want to share with you some of the videos that I've watched in the last week. Today, I haven't finished watching the video yet. Dr. Ford Brewer, Brewer, he has a YouTube channel, is interviewing Dr. Boz, who also has, of course, her YouTube channel, which is Dr. Boz, B-O-Z. And he started out by asking her about her background. So a lot of these really hybrid, qualified people are aware of each other, and it's very cool to see her interact with some of the real hybrid ones. Dr. Brewer's had a tremendous impact on my knowledge about nutrition and heart health. Been a blessing for me. So he was asking her to recount at the beginning of the interview, how she came by an understanding of ketosis. And she told the story, which she tells in her book, Any Way You Can, which is the one that I read that led me to her, because I have a couple of friends who are still battling cancer. And she talked about the story about how she saved her mom's life, how she discovered it. So it was a discussion generally. Again, I haven't finished the video, but I would recommend you go track it down. It was regarding fasting, autophagy, and what I just mentioned about how she discovered the ketogenic diet, and how she saved her mom's life. I earlier in the week watched a video by Dr. Ken Berry, Berry. His actual YouTube channel, I guess, is different than what I thought. It's Ken D, as in David, Ken D. Berry, MD. And he interviewed someone that I have not encountered before, Dr. Katie Deming. That's Katie. Last name is Deming, Deming. What an amazing interview. I've actually been in email contact with Katie's office. She's a former radiation oncologist located out in the Portland, Oregon area. And after 20 years of being in that business and being pretty successful at it, she just had a moment of truth where she had to stare down what she learned. And she learned that most people aren't getting that much better with traditional oncological methods. So she dropped out. So Dr. Berry was asking her about her role, which is now as a consulting oncologist, where she advises people all over the country regarding a more holistic approach for treatment of cancer. And it focuses on the same premise that Dr. Boz used with her mom, getting someone into therapeutic ketosis. Very cool. I don't know that she has a YouTube channel. She's all over the place. If you put her in YouTube, you'll find interviews from many different people. I do know you can also find a website for her just by Googling her name. Like I said, I've been in email contact with her. I don't know if any of my friends that are fighting cancer will ever bother to reach out to her. It's a troublesome thing. I think everyone has to come to their moment of truth where they're willing to look at a different way of doing something. And I may have told this story in one of my first videos, how when I met Dr. Boz personally the first time at the beginning of this year, just dropping into her office because I live near where her office is, and I was within 5 minutes of there on business one day. She was just so kind, and she said, Paul, there's nothing you can do for people who don't want to listen, whether you're trying to help them lose weight or trying to help them save their lives from cancer. All you can do is work on you. And she was right, and I knew it, and I didn't want to hear it, but I knew it was right before she even said it. Of course I knew that. If I didn't admit to you that I knew that, I'd have to admit that I'm stupid, and I absolutely refuse to do that. I would rather admit that I'm stubborn and I'm set in my ways a little bit, and thank God I know that most of us are. So I'm just trying to be a source of encouragement there. Um, Being open-minded can change your life. That's all I know for sure. I also came across an interview of Professor Tim Noakes, Noakes. He's a lot like Bart Kay. He's a scientist. He's not a clinical physician. Um, and he also, like Katie Deming, I don't think he has a YouTube channel. Again, you can put his name into YouTube and you'll find that he's been interviewed by many different people. The interviews that I recently came across were done on a YouTube channel called Biz News TV. And I don't know a lot about that channel, but I found two interviews. One where part of the title was medical scams, and another where part of the title was humans were designed to eat fat and protein. The interesting thing about Tim Noakes is he's primarily lived in South Africa, and he's known as a sports medicine scientist. And he's been in trouble with the medical authorities more than once, and he's had to fight legal battles simply because he had a different opinion. So I don't know that I deliberately set out to have um, a video today that was about cancer or about controversy, but that seems to be what I've been coming across recently in my own YouTube travels. And these are all people I've had contact with before. So it seems like it's just kismet that it fell in my lap. I wasn't really sure what I was going to talk about today, other than my perfunctory update at the beginning of the video. So here you have it. I have been having a lot of fun with a guy named Mitch. I don't know where he lives. I don't know his last name. I think he's 77 years old. He's been a carnivore for 2 years. One of his interviews, not interviews, he has his own channel. One of his videos that I saw recently, he was walking in his backyard in his bare feet, and he was talking about what's called grounding, where you put your body directly in contact with the earth. And it's not scientifically proven, but Bart Kay even admits that even though there's not firm science behind it, he's willing to say that he's exploring the possibility that the electromagnetic energy in the earth can help replenish electrons in your body. And the process that's involved with that when you eat food that's supposed to help do that is the kind of food that helps get rid of free radicals. So some of the terminology is eluding me. But anyway, I'm just sharing. It's stream of consciousness. I'm sharing things that I think are pretty cool. But Mitch's channel is called Old Guy Carnivore, and he's a very straightforward guy. He basically chronicles his journey, and sometimes it's reviewing the past and how this whole thing changed his life. Some of it's just current, like how does he prepare his food and what kind of devices does he use to prepare his food. So I can easily recommend that channel as far as having an encounter with someone who definitely isn't a doctor, but definitely has benefited from the ketogenic / carnivore lifestyle. There's my good friend. I call him a good friend. I told you in the recent video that Jesse Chappis does amazing interviews. I've discovered a lot of these people and then found their channels from Jesse Chappis. He's a journalist. He's a healthcare nutrition journalist using a YouTube channel. He interviewed a guy by the name of Dr. Nathan Bryan, Bryan. I've encountered him before. But again, these are things that I've recently watched. Um, Nathan Bryan's a scientist, and they were discussing nitric oxide, which is not an essential nutrient for the body only because the body can produce it. Nitric oxide is a naturally occurring substance that the body produces that relaxes the blood vessels. Wow. So one of the benefits of having a good supply of nitric oxide is it lowers your blood pressure, and it can also reduce inflammation. Blood pressure being one of the primary causes of inflammation, which is what leads to cholesterol being laid down on the arterial walls. Because as I said again in another previous video, cholesterol gets laid down as part of the healing process to protect the interior lining of the blood vessels. Nathan Bryan has his own channel. The one that I was able to cite was called Dr. Nathan Bryan Nitric Oxide. Nathan, Nathan, Bryan, Bryan, nitric, Nitric, oxide, Oxide. I'll tell you, if you found these videos and these people uh, between now and the next time I report to you next week, and you watch anything about any of them or from any of them, I think you'd have a really good learning experience. Some of these videos are pretty long, but it's easier than reading a book, and it's out there. It's free, and it's powerful information. I'm moving forward. I had a great workout yesterday. I adjust what I'm doing depending on how I'm feeling. I'm getting better at reading my body. I had my first practice session at the bowling alley. And again, that's a sport that my wife and I enjoy a lot. The season's about to begin in a few weeks, and my knees have been a problem for me over the last year. I missed most of last season. Yeah, it's some old injuries, it's age, but it's also inflammation, and it's the weight. I had an old friend, I might have mentioned this before, like an old guy telling the same stories over and over again. Somebody send me a note if I'm driving anyone crazy with that routine. But I remember my old friend George years ago when I started gaining weight. He goes, "Listen, Paul, imagine that you went down to Home Depot and you bought a 40-pound bag of sand and you put it on your shoulders. How do you think that would feel if you had to carry that around all day, every day?" And then I just extrapolated that to what would it be like if I put 2 bags or more? It'd be insane. But it took a long time for that to sink in. I had to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that was also a phrase that George taught me. And it goes across health, and he was a diabetic. It goes across health. It goes across finance. It goes across a lot of things. By the way, an amusing thing to me that I think is instructive is my wife suggested that I lift up the laptop that I'm making these videos on to get the camera more even with my head. So I put the thickest book that I have on my bookshelf. It's a book that was written close to 30 years ago. It had a pretty significant impact on me professionally. I'm looking at it right now below the laptop. It's called What Works on Wall Street. It was almost an encyclopedic type of thing where this guy, Jim O'Shaughnessy, did a ton of research to show the relative benefits of different approaches to building portfolios. And he was right about so many of them that he was able to fund the start of an investment management company based upon all of this information. And he did really well. And then he didn't do so well, and he wound up selling the firm eventually. Um, Things change. I don't think things change all that often, and I don't think that a lot of things ever change at all. Ask me about my impression of human nature. I'll tell you, not a lot changes. But it's still instructive as far as that you have to be willing to say, okay, it's been working, it's working now, but I need to be diligent to make sure that if something changes about that, I figure out the other information that I've been missing. And if I can't find it, just keep looking for it. So I think I might have implied again in an earlier video, I think there's a corollary between my career in the financial business as well as taking care of my health. It's just that I had to have a career and I put a lot of energy into it, and I just got lazy about taking care of my health, something I took for granted. Um, Not sure exactly how I'm going to wrap that all together other than, like I said, it's a shorter video today than usual, and it's a little bit more stream of consciousness. I've got some place I got to be earlier than usual in the early evening, and I wanted to make sure I got a video out to you today. So, as always, thank you for indulging. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you're so inclined, um, subscribe, make comments, put a thumbs up on there, um, or share it with somebody. I appreciate the support. I wish you guys a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks a lot.